Today, I want to talk about mastering temperance and the power of the silent victories. Hi, welcome to the Growth Gap. My name is Aslam Khatri. You see, I've always thought, all along my life, I always thought that the talent, that connections, and that the perseverance was something that will get you successful in your life. But after many years, what I found out, what is the main ingredient, the main thing that you require to be successful in anything is temperance. Temperance is something that you require to have the continuous success, to have the continuous going forward with your plans, to have the continuous doing whatever that you need to do. So I want to talk about the temperance today as to how it is so important, as to how important it is that even Warren Buffett said that you do not need to become or to be a genius or a financial genius to win in the stock market. What you need is the temperance, because temperance is the one that is going to help you make the right decisions. You see, the temperance itself is the one that holds you accountable the times when you could make wrong decisions. And trust me, there are so many times that you are going to make wrong decisions only because of the circumstances. What are those circumstances? What happens? And this is what I call silent victories. You're sitting in your office, you're sitting in the boardroom with people, with the colleagues, and you're discussing an idea. It was your idea that you talked about, but somebody else took the credit for it. Now, you have two choices at that point. You start making the fuss, you start doing calling names and doing everything, and basically spoil. Or you quietly just let go because you know that you are after something bigger than that. Now that is a silent victory. That is a silent victory that nobody notices. You don't get any likes on it. Nobody applauses you. Nobody even knows about it other than you. But that is a silent victory because what you did was you let it go. You let somebody else quietly win this because you are in a long-term game. Secondly, think about it this way. You're coming home after a long day's work, and all you want to do is just lay in front of the TV and watch nothing, watch something that is totally mindless. But instead, you remember that you had promised yourself that you're going to go to the gym, so you go to the gym. That is a silent victory because you did what you know you need to do to get yourself somewhere. Thirdly, think about it. Somebody gives you an argument, and it's a useless argument, and yet it gets you very upset. Now, what do? Do you quietly walk away from that argument, or do you stand there and fight with the person? Because if you do that, what you're doing is practically wasting your own time, because it's the temperance, is the temperament that you need to control. So you see, the small victories, when they are accumulated, they come into something that is very strong for you in your long term. So all these things, the temperament itself is made in such a way that it gives you, if you control it, it gives you those small victories, and those small victories will take you to a very, very long term. Now, in my mind, the temperament always beats talents. And let me tell you the 4 or 5 reasons why it does that. Number one is the longevity. You see, you're in a long game. And in a long game, what you want to do is continue to have that straight temperament that allows you to continue to do what you want to do, what your goals are, what your aspirations are. So longevity, because you see, getting into the door of any business or any office or any organization is very simple. But then how long do you stay? Do you have the temperament to stay in a place? And that is what you require. So the longevity is the first thing, to have the temperament. When you have the temperament, you can stay longer at any organization. The second thing is the decision making. Now, how many times we get into a situation where we're really grappling with something that we have to make a decision. But if you do not have the proper temperance, then it becomes very difficult. It becomes difficult to make the right decision. It has always been like that. When you are upset, I used to have a boss. I was a young man, and this was the most talented person. But he had a very short temper. And so what would happen is that every little thing he would just get totally bogged down, and resulting he wouldn't make any decision. I mean, there's much more things he did where we as subordinates didn't have respect for him anymore because he was so temperamental that all his talent was just left behind. I remember that from a long time. So the temperament, you need to make a right decision with the right temperament. Number 3 is relationships. We need, in any business and anything that we're going to do, we need relationships. Now, if you do not have a good temperament, and if you do not have the right temperament, you will not keep the relationships. People will basically not talk to you. People will not want to have business, want to do business with you. So how important it becomes that you need to have good relationships, you need to have a good temperament. And then finally, it is the resilience. You see, life throws at you every curveball that can come through. You're always in front of a situation where either you're failing a failure or you're failing in this situation where you must make a very quick decision, where you must do something that has to come across, that decisions must be made right now. Now, if you do not have a good temperament, if you do not have the right temperance, then it becomes very difficult to analyze the failure, to analyze what went wrong, to analyze how can you restart, what were the mistakes, what mistakes did you make? So you need the temperance. You can see time by time, everything that you do, every little thing that you look at, if you do not have the temperament, you are losing time. And you don't want to lose time. So you need to have the temperament. So how do we build temperament? How? How do we do that? What happens? And those are all small, like I said, like I talked about, the small victories, the silent victories. And those are the ones that build the temperament. Because temperament, again, is the same thing as a muscle. You're building a muscle. So how do you do that? Viktor Frankl once said that there is a difference between the stimulus and reaction. So in other words, if somebody has said something to you, and while you want to react to it, there is a difference. So whatever the stimulus was, there's the difference between what your reaction is going to be. If you can understand that there is a difference, then you hold back. And holding back is so important because that is how you start. So you start with holding back. Start to think about it. Start to learn to hold back to a quick reaction. So you have a stimulus, and then there's a time to react. Now, hold back in between that. Think about what your response is going to be. Think about how you are going to react to that stimulus that has been thrown at you. Now, second thing is keep your small promises to yourself. What do I mean by that? You promise yourself to do so many things. You promise that you're going to go to gym every second day. You promise yourself that you will take cold showers. You promise yourself that you're going to do certain things. Keep those promises to yourself. Those promises that you make to yourself, those not only create discipline, but that gives you what we call the temperance. It'll give you the temperance. It is slow, but you are building yourself. You're building yourself into something that will yield you much better results in the long run than where you are right now. The third thing is embrace the discomfort. You start getting used to it. Start getting used to it, how not to react to small things, regardless how discomfortable they are. When we start realizing that we don't need to react to everything, when we start realizing that, this is when, now, of course, we react because that is the discomfort that we want to basically avoid. So we just say whatever comes out. But now embrace that discomfort. Live with it. Start thinking about it, and the point that you are now training yourself. And by training yourself, you are going to embrace that particular discomfort that is happening. Regardless, somebody said it, you're holding yourself back. Again, I talked about those cold showers. It's the same thing. You are holding yourself. You see, because what is happening now is you are starting to understand what is your stimulus and what is the response. So there's going to be parts when there's a discomfort, embrace it, live with it, know that it's discomfortable, but then you are going to do much better with that, because that's where you are going to learn to control not only your emotions, but your temperance. Reframe your victories. What do I mean by that? Did you show up? Did you show up to what you had promised yourself? Did you show up to that gym at time, even if you were tired? Victory. Did you show up for that meeting, even though you didn't want to meet that particular person? Victory. So you see, you reframe it. You look at it from the point of view of these are your victories. Every day you do something, you are creating that muscle. You are creating that habit that is going to help you keep on going forward and forward and forward. Okay? One thing that you must do is also study your own pattern. To see what time. There are times we get tired, say, well, at this point I get cranky, I really don't, or at this particular meeting, or at this particular subject, I really get a little ahead of myself. Start to study your own patterns. Find out what is it that makes you do it. And once you know that, you start working on it. You see, the awareness of your own pattern, it starts to help you hold back on temper, on the temperament, on getting upset. So you see, it is a long term. It's a slow process, but it's a process. It's a process of small victories. Now, what happens is there is a compound effect to all that. Everything that we do slowly turns into a strong habit for yourself. You're starting to feel different because now what you've done is, as you have gone through those meetings, those small victories, those little victories that you thought, and they were silent, nobody applauded you, nobody said, wow, you're doing great, nobody gave you grades for that. No social media gave you likes on that because they were your victories. They were small, but they were your victories. They were silent victories. And those are the victories that eventually add up. They accumulate. They accumulate to something that makes you a wonderful person. A person who has the temperament to win the long game. You see, so how we need to be aware that how temperament truly affects how we do business. How do we run our own personal life? And again, to do that, you need to understand yourself. To do that, you need to know what are the silent victories that will take you to the further and further and further in your quest to become a better person, a better business person, a better investor, a better at everything. You could be a sports person, because you see what happens is the temperament is the one thing that has destroyed so many people. So many artists, talented artists, they get frustrated. And once they get frustrated, game is over, because now it will take them again time to rebuild. You know, so many businesses fail because people who run the businesses do not have the temperament. And you've noticed that. You will notice that a lot of people, it's like the investment, it's the same thing. If you don't have the temperament, if you do not understand it, then you will be making quick decisions. And those quick decisions are going to cost you a lot of money. So any which way you look at it, in any part of the life that you look at it, the thing is that you have to have temperament. And that temperament is much, much stronger than a talent. It's much more stronger than relationships. It's much more stronger than connections. It is not even luck. It is something that you build. So think about it. Think about it from the point of view of how are you going to build your temper? How are you going to make those silent victories which will accumulate to one great victory for yourself? That was what I wanted to talk about today. The message is basically you have to learn to control your own temper. Now, if you know of somebody who needs this, please send it to them. If you like this, please give me a like. Please subscribe to my channel. That helps me a lot. Till next time, I'm Aslam Khatri from The Growth Gap. Goodbye.